Today, we are covering amended returns and the critical statute of limitations for claiming a refund. The exam will test your knowledge of Form 1040X and, more importantly, the strict deadlines imposed by Internal Revenue Code Section 6511. You will see questions that provide a series of dates, and you must identify the final day a taxpayer can file a claim for a refund. The general rule is that a claim must be filed within 3 years from the date the return was filed or 2 years from the date the tax was paid, whichever of such periods expires later. Let's break that down. First, the 3-year rule. An exam question might state, a taxpayer filed their 2020 tax return on February 15, 2021. What is the deadline to amend for a refund? The trap here is the early filing date. The law states the 3-year period begins from the date the return was filed, but a return filed early is treated as filed on the due date. So for the 2020 return, the clock starts on April 15, 2021, not February 15th. The deadline to amend under this rule would be April 15, 2024. If the taxpayer had filed on extension on October 1, 2021, the 3-year period would start from that actual filing date, making the deadline October 1, 2024. Now let's look at the 2-year rule, which is based on the date of payment. Imagine a taxpayer filed their 2020 return on April 15, 2021, but didn't pay the tax due until much later, say on June 1, 2022. If they later discover an overpayment, the 2-year rule gives them until June 1, 2024 to file a claim. The most important part for the exam is applying the whichever is later provision. Let's combine our examples. The taxpayer filed on time for 2020, making the 3-year deadline April 15, 2024. But they paid the tax on June 1, 2022, making the 2-year deadline June 1, 2024. Since June 1, 2024 is later than April 15, 2024, the taxpayer has until June 1, 2024. To file their Form 1040X, the exam will absolutely present a scenario where you must calculate both dates and choose the later one. Remember this phrase to keep it straight: 3 from filing, 2 from paying, whichever gives you more staying. This shortcut helps you remember the core components and the later of rule. Common changes on a Form 1040X include correcting income, deductions, credits, or changing filing status. But be aware that filing an amended return does not change the statute of limitations for the IRS to audit the original return. Processing these forms is slow, often taking more than 20 weeks, and taxpayers can track the status using the Where's My Amended Return tool on the IRS website. Focus on the dates, identify the filing date, identify the payment date, calculate both deadlines, and always choose the one that is later.